Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. It is Monday, December 22nd. Happy holidays, everybody. For those of you who've already
Can I,
celebrated,
can you get
happy
me out
belated
of jail?
holidays. For those of you who are celebrating Christmas this week or
I'm
whatever
denied
holiday,
parole.
Well,
Festivus,
Festivus is tomorrow night.
Festivus, okay. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus, whatever. I'm Chad Sherwood. We got John Titel. Oh, we just moved people around. We got David Griggs and John Sleek up here. Joby Forza below me and John Titel, whose camera we just lost. Hopefully, we'll get it back here in a second. Uh, but we're here to discuss college hoops because we've got some thrilling games going on tonight. I think every single D2, D3, and NAIA team is in action. Am I right?
Yeah, a lot of teams like to go to the bakery before they take a couple days off for Christmas, I guess. My God, what a horrible. And we see it every year. We do.
Well, it's kind of like what is it? The NCAA football on the Saturday before rivalry week, where
Yeah. Yeah,
you,
because,
yeah.
I mean, heaven forbid we have blowouts in college football.
Uh, well, let's get right to the games here. Sorry, because we have one more person that might be jumping in here, but we'll see if he jumps in or not. But
Who
we'll
the
get
hell is
right.
that? Who might be jumping in?
Mike Cha might be jumping in here.
Oh,
We're
okay.
getting him an invite into the call, so haven't
Fan of
seen
the
him all
number
season.
one rated Michigan Wolverines.
No, I think it's number one rated Arizona Wildcats. Ty, tell him I have it right.
Depends what you're looking at, but JMG says Arizona, so that's good enough for me.
Hey, I see a two in Palm and a two in KPI. I'm going to guess Michigan's the one on those.
Yeah. Let's start things off though in the Big 12 conference, and well, maybe we should start off with the number one team in the nation, Arizona. Uh, Joby, let me start with you. And we know Titel is gonna sing their praises, but they had, you know, San Diego State may not be much, but they destroyed them over the weekend.
Yeah, and this is an amazing team. I actually like the Abilene Christian win. Yeah, who's mediocre, but but you still there's just not a doubt. You love it when your team. I'm sure Titel and Dorman can kind of attest to this. Watching it, you love it when you're playing a team you're supposed to beat, and you don't even break a sweat. I mean, it's the depth of this team I really like. They have the key, protected seed win already in the bag. As a matter of fact, number one/2 seed in the bag. This team is very deserving of its number one place, though head to head with Mr. Cha, who just joined us. His team certainly can have a claim to that as well. But but yeah, Arizona, there's not much negative to say on the Wildcats here.
Yeah, Mike Chai joining us as well. Mike, we were just getting going here. Thanks for jumping in.
Hmm.
But just discussing Arizona, but a few other teams we definitely have to discuss here. The other big story, Salika, this week probably was Houston, and their huge win over Arkansas this past weekend.
They got out to a much bigger lead in the first half, where I think the Cougars led by as many as 20 before Arkansas managed to make the game a little bit more respectable. The Cougars had been kind of sleepwalking during November and early December, but Saturday was the first game where, for a half at least, they were finally looking like a team that's going to be a Final Four contender.
Yeah, Griggs, I think, it's almost like we haven't really seen Houston. We almost forgot about them, is
Yeah.
the way I was looking at it. And I think this is one of those statements here. And now, obviously, one more bye game, and then they get into conference play.
Yeah, and you may recall it was similar last year to where they played a tough schedule and they
Right.
played a lot of good teams really strong early. They dropped some games in November, lost early to Auburn, who obviously was a really good team last year. But I think they're almost on the exact same trajectory that they were a year ago. And that is a good win. And I just love it when these old Southwest Conference rivalries get together in New Jersey. I mean, there's just nothing better than, than those types of matchups. I still don't know how that got set up, but anyway, it doesn't matter. On paper, that is a good win on a neutral floor against a really solid, certainly top half of the bracket, possible protected seed caliber team. Certainly Houston's biggest win of the year so far. And you get the sense that they're just getting better and that they're going to start plowing through the league. There's more to get to, but a great win for Houston. A lot
Well,
of teams in this league looking good.
the third team with a great win this week. Mike, thanks for joining us. Maybe you want to chime in on them. The Red Raiders, Texas Tech, that win over Duke. What an incredible game! What an incredible victory! That
Wow.
was ended up being the game of the day on Saturday.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge win. And when you get toward March and you look for quality non-conference wins, Texas Tech has got a huge ace in the hole. I mean, beating Duke, that's going to be that definitely is a huge win for them. And I agree with Griggs about Houston. Is like I do remember last year, they were kind of off to a mediocre start, but then they just kept creeping up slowly, and then it's like, oh, lo and behold, they're one seed, and that they might do that same trajectory again. But back to Texas Tech, that's a huge win over Duke for sure, and it's gonna look really good on their resume. They just have to, not pick up. They just have to do reasonably well in conference play and not pick up any bad losses, but they should be okay.
Now, we call it a huge win. It's right up there with Iowa State's win at Purdue. It's in the discussion for one of the best singular wins that any team's managed. What was so improbable about this is that how many times has Duke been ranked in the top four and been playing at home and had a 17-point lead in the second half and lost the game?
Exactly. It's how the game happened that impressed
Yeah.
the hell out of me.
Something about Duke against the Big 12, it's like
Yeah, and it got to the point I shouldn't admit this because it makes heaven forbid I look unprofessional on this show. I missed part of the comeback because I just figured the game was over and there's only so many TV sets you can have on. I turned on something else and then it was like, holy crap, Texas Tech has cut it down to 4-3 or whatever it was. So I need to go back but what? I'm sure it was an incredible second half performance, and I'm sorry. I know we have a lot of Texas Tech followers. I will go back and watch the second half.
I think one of my assignments.
One second, quick correction here. That game was at Madison Square Garden. It was not at Duke, Griggs, but
Yeah.
it was a neutral
Trust me,
game.
Madison Square Garden is more of a home.
Yeah, like I said, it was at
oh yeah.
Stalika, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of my assignments over the Christmas break is going to be to find the last year Duke did not play at MSG. So I think Texas Tech could make a case for this being a road win.
Titel, I think we've got you back on, and you want to discuss another 11-1 team in this conference.
Yes, we need to discuss this.
How about
Oklahoma
Oklahoma State?
Oh, okay, nothing.
Well, I want to discuss my video, but I'm afraid that if I say a thing, it's going to fade. So let me quickly talk about Coach Steve Lutz. He had a losing record last year in his debut in Stillwater. Appears to have things figured out in year two. He's off to an 11-1 start. Home cupcake next Monday. So they should be 12-1 when heading to Lubbock for a very interesting conference opener against Texas Tech on January 3rd. Their key has been offense. 90 points a game is top 20 in the nation. But I don't know of another team in the country whose New Year's resolution is to get healthy. They were without 3 starters for their 5-point win over Fullerton last Sunday. Kanye Clary from Virginia, Parsafala from Iran, Lefteris Mantzoukas from Greece. So hopefully it will be a Kali Kronyame Yiya, or as they say in Greek, a happy, healthy New Year.
Yeah, right now, all 3 guys are scheduled to play the Bethune-Cookman game, but still a week away, so we'll see any changes there. But Griggs, you had another team also you wanted to discuss?
Well, I want to get to UCF at some point. I know that there's a lot of other teams to discuss, and one of the things in discussing and assessing them is that is not an impressive overall profile. The win at Texas A&M is good.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where the good wins are. Go ahead.
Well, they're not there yet. But the question is, are they good enough to get them eventually once they get in the conference play? You look at sort of the predictive metrics. I think the J&G has them, 9 seedish, 8 seedish, something like that. Ken Palm has them 44th, which is right in the neighborhood of the bubble. Would this team be selected now? No. I mean, I haven't been putting them in my brackets. I don't know whose turn it is this week. They probably won't select them either. But it is worth asking the question, is this team good enough to get the wins that they need? Because they're certainly going to get the opportunities. Or is are they just not good enough and the margin for error is too small?
Joe, but you're our metrics guy. I look at them. I think they got almost a fluke win at a weak A&M team, and that's all they've got.
Don't
That is all
forget
they got.
about they beat the second place team in the ACC, and I'm not talking about Pitt.
You're talking about Hofstra.
But but no, UCF. I mean, the J&G has them right now as a 7-8. The reason why though is that record is the bloated record because it extrapolates out. You know what? If they finish against this schedule again, of what they've done today at 28-4, they're getting a bit. But that begs the question. They're
Really
not
going out on a limb there, Joey. If they finish 28-4 after playing the Big
28-4
Ten,
playing basically an American schedule, American
yeah.
conference schedule, which is essentially what they've done so far.
They really got to kick butt in the conference
They're
schedule.
not going to be facing an American conference schedule the remainder of the time. They'll get their opportunities. They've actually set themselves up for as good as you can hope if you're UCF. If they go 500 in the Big 12, now I don't know if they will, but if they go 500 in the Big 12, they are going to be like a 7 or 8 seed. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think so. I think they got to.
It depends on who those wins are against.
Well, but the Big 12 is so deep, it's inevitable they're going to be beating. Let's say they beat Oklahoma State, which we didn't think was great. And all right, they get a road win at Oklahoma State. Get a road win, get a home win against Arizona State, who's a bubble team. Get a home. They're going to have to beat good teams to go that route. And all they need to do is beat a few good teams, have a good record. They get to 20 wins. I'm sorry, they're going to get a bit. And it's just by the mere fact that their schedule is going to ramp up and get it. But Chad, your question is, can they? I don't know, but they've done what they've needed so far.
Yeah, I just don't see 20 wins. I see a home game. Maybe they got to win at Florida Atlantic tomorrow night, which is not easy to begin with.
True enough.
And I see a home game against Cincinnati and a home game against West Virginia and a game at Utah. That's about it that I see.
Well, that's the
I'm
point.
looking for wins there.
They need to beat at West Virginia. They need to win those at West Virginia games, at Kansas State games. And if they do, then it's like, hey, they're going to have a resume that's good enough. Even though West Virginia and Kansas State are very unlikely to be tournament level, but they're going to have good nets. They're going to have good resumes.
I think they got to get above 500. My question is, can they do it? Like, can they beat? Obviously, I don't think they're in the same class as Iowa State, Arizona, BYU, Houston, but are they good enough to beat TCU and Arizona State and West Virginia and K-State?
Baylor is a real team too. I think
and Baylor is another one, and Colorado is another one. I mean, there's teams in this league that I think that they are at least as good as, and it's close to half of them. And if they run roughshod over those teams and they somehow get one scalp against the heavyweight, I think they're going to be like right now. The predictive metrics have them at about 44, 45. I think that's what they are. I think they're going to be right on the cut line.
Okay, that's the buzzer. We've run out of time. We have done our entire year's allotment of UCF talk in one show.
Yeah.
I'm calling it off right now. I do want to hit one other team before we move on. Titel, let me throw it over here to you. Arizona State, who we've been almost praising a little bit.
God.
Did they implode this week? And can we say goodbye to Bobby Hurley?
I never said hello to Bobby Hurley, but yes, I think we can. They are 9-4, so certainly not out of it. And losses to Gonzaga, USC, and UCLA are all decent. Losing at home to the Beavers, a little less so, but Big 12 is very tough. If they beat Arizona and Houston back-to-back in a few weeks, that's a whole other story, right?
It is. I don't see the team that played on Sunday being able to have a shot in those games, though. Quite honestly. Upcoming schedule here. Stalika. Okay, I guess we have UCF another half a second here. In the next 7 days here, with all the time off here for the holidays, maybe UCF's game at Florida Atlantic is the only game worth watching on this calendar here.
Well, as we get to later in the show, this could be an under-the-radar game for Central Florida to win, but we also have a nice front-range game for Colorado, hosting Northern Colorado coming back after the Christmas break.
And Northern Colorado is pretty much the top of their conference right now, in my view. And Colorado, we talked about Arizona State stumbles. Colorado's stumble was very costly. I think that they need to put Northern Colorado away so that they can be in that same type of conversation we just had with UCF.
Ooh, how did we get the Mountain West there? We did not mean to show that on the screen. It was Colorado's loss to Stanford.
Joby's favorite conference.
We will get to the Mountain West in a few minutes here. I meant to go to the SEC next, though. where we
Wow.
actually
Wow. Wow.
Tytel, I want to start with you because we almost had a story today, the team that you told me this morning you wanted to discuss, and LSU was down to Prairie View until about 10 minutes left in their game tonight, but they found a way to win. They're 11 and 1.
Very impressive. Coach Matt McMahon didn't win more than 17 games in any of his first 3 years in Baton Rouge, but he's more than halfway there right now. Just a neutral site loss to Texas Tech, which is obviously a tier one loss. They haven't all been home cupcakes either. He beat Drake and DePaul in Florida, BC in Massachusetts, which is arguably a cupcake, I know, and SMU in New
And needed
Orleans.
overtime.
The Tigers do finish up 2025 with a pair of home cupcakes, including Prairie View, who they beat a few minutes ago, before heading to A&M for their conference opener on January 3rd. Two keys for this team: an efficient offense. They're shooting 62% from two-point range. That's top 15% and then top 15 in the nation. And then free throw luck, for lack of a better word. Their opponents are shooting 63% at the line. That's the lowest in the nation. They have great scoring and geographic balance. Their top four scorers all scoring between 12 and 16 a game, and they hail from Australia, Canada, Vegas, and Tulsa. If they're lucky, perhaps their new football coach, Lane Kiffin, can give them some spending money. He made $250,000 last weekend because his former team beat Tulane in the college football playoff.
Wow.
Oh,
Ridiculous.
the other story in this conference, Joby, it's still Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
One of the small
Oh,
handful of undefeated
God, they
teams in
are
the nation.
just awesome. And just when you think they'll slow down for a second, they don't. I mean, they go. Wake has been very tricky for some teams. Mike,
Oh,
is
I
Wake
know that
tricky?
they in Detroit they
Enough said. I mean, Mike
one
knows
point.
full
I know
well.
that.
And Vanderbilt just obliterated them. I mean, just what was the 31 final score? 31 points. That should
On the
tell you how good
road.
Vanderbilt is. This is a Wake team. I'm not saying Wake's going to be in the tournament, but I do think they're going to be in the NIT. And I think Wake can really give you a lot of troubles. And wow, not at all. This just shows how good Vanderbilt is. Vanderbilt's built, so to speak, for a high level. Right now, they're a two or possibly a one, depending on how far you drop Duke after a loss.
Yeah, they
Have you
don't
noticed?
have. I was going to say they don't have the big win against a protected C caliber team yet, but that is a very solid profile. In addition to being undefeated, if you look at it, St. Mary's away from home, blowout win at Wake, blowout win, went to UCF, who we just talked about, the only team that's beaten them, and they did it on the road. At Memphis, well, okay, never mind.
If only if they had opportunities in conference to get some more good wins for that resume.
Yeah, I mean, you
Only
just
they
hate to
did.
see a team not get those opportunities to come.
No, what I was going to
Okay.
say was, have you noticed we've had two former James Madison coaches who have made major splashes in different sports? Mark Byington is doing it on the basketball end, and some guy named Kurt Signetti doing it on the football end, where he's taken Indiana from the basement to number one in football.
Yeah.
I want to hit one other team here, and I'm going back almost a full week. But Mike, I don't know if you had a chance to see that Tennessee Louisville game, and we thought Louisville was good. We thought Tennessee had some question marks after they lost the game to Syracuse. I changed my mind about maybe about both teams, but definitely about Tennessee in that game.
Yeah, I expected a better game, but kudos to Tennessee. They beat Louisville big by 21, and it's a good win for them. I mean, at least on paper, Louisville is 15th in the net, so you know. But I see Tennessee's like they have those two great wins against Houston and Louisville, but then nothing else. There's no tier two wins, and all of their other wins are in the bottom half.
I
Either win
A lot
or
of tier
think
drew.
four wins.
I think they'll get a few chances for those tier two and
Yeah,
tier wins in conference, though, just a couple.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, the joys of
Unfortunately
being in the
for them,
major
they might
conference
all
don't
be
change.
tier ones.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's
know
the
what?
benefit of being in the major conference. You get all these chances.
And if they don't win any tier two games, they don't belong in, do they?
Yeah.
No, but Griggs, this Tennessee team, you gotta say the real after what for real after even though it was a home game, which I know you don't think counts, after what they did to
Yeah,
Louisville.
I mean, it doesn't count. Louisville has played two. We'll talk about them. Louisville's played two road games and they've lost both of them badly, but they were two very, very tough road games, to be fair. Tennessee has only played one true road game that they lost it, but they've done enough. And you look at like how competitive they were against Kansas. You're sort of scratching your head with the Syracuse loss. That's one that I really thought that they would win.
That's because
It's hard to
Syracuse is
not be
better than Louisville,
impressed with
right?
that. Now,
Mhm.
one of the things about Tennessee's defense is that they're almost tailor built to beat a team like Louisville that shoots a lot of threes from the outside because they close out so well on defense, which is, I know most people don't think of Rick Barnes' coach teams as being good defensive teams, but they really do defend the three very well. At least they did that day. And
15th of the nation at 3-point field goal defense, so that's pretty darn
yes,
good.
and when you're playing a team like Louisville that is so reliant on the 3-point shot, yeah, I mean they beat him. They beat him pretty bad.
Uh, let's take, as we record this, by the way, Missouri is getting handled by Tennessee. Texas and
Illinois, I
Oklahoma
mean.
on the
Illinois.
by Illinois. I'm sorry, you.
Yeah, in St. Louis.
Oklahoma and Texas are both cruising to wins as well. But quick look at the upcoming week here, and again, there's not much over the weekend. Even ahead here, Yale and Alabama might be the best game on that upcoming
That's
schedule in the
actually
next
one
seven
that's worth
days.
watching. This game tomorrow, or I'm sorry, this game on Monday, this New Haven Vanderbilt game, that is not a game that's worth watching.
No, I can guarantee you, unless something crazy happens, none of us will be watching that game.
Yeah.
Uh, let's jump over to the Big Ten Conference. And Mike, you're here. Let me throw it over to you here. Your Michigan Wolverines sitting here, number one in the coaches poll, number one in Torvik, KenPom, KPI, and net. Uh, and with the results of the court, maybe they should be number one in a few more polls than that also.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely impressed. I knew they would have a good team, but I didn't think it'd be this good. But when they went into Las Vegas a month ago and they beat San Diego State, Auburn, and then Gonzaga, they beat Kentucky by a lot. But then Michigan beat Gonzaga by, by a lot, by 40 points. I'm like, they're really impressive. They have three quality bigs, and then they're really deep. Like there's 6, 7, 8 guys could start legitimately for a lot of other teams, and it's just a matter of staying healthy and avoiding major injury. But Big Ten is really top heavy. You got Purdue, you got Michigan State, and Michigan. It's going to be very interesting this year.
If you look at their profile, it was kind of funny because the first week they were winning games, and I remember saying that Michigan is a little bit, they had to sweat out Wake Forest up in Detroit. I thought they'd hammer them.
Barely
They had to
beat
sweat out
TCU.
TCU. I think I actually spoke on the week two show. I don't, or maybe it was week three. I don't think Michigan is that good. And ever since then, they have been decent.
Yeah. In the
Decent.
beginning, they would play well for about 25 minutes and then look bad for the next 15. So
Yeah, but I
maybe it's just
mean,
because they have a lot of new players, it just took time for the players to gel and play as a team.
and it isn't just so much the tier one wins; it's that they're annihilating
Yeah.
teams in a way that I mean they've been beating these teams like you would think that they were home by games.
Uh,
Yeah,
Slika.
Cincinnati beat Michigan
Yeah.
during the preseason.
Yeah, Stalika. Purdue also picked up a huge win this week, beating Auburn by 28 points.
Yeah, this was pretty much a de facto road win considering the game was being played in Birmingham. Now, that probably says more about how Auburn has looked this year. But if you want to
Yes.
look at how Purdue jumped into the Big Ten season, they didn't mess around against Minnesota, unlike their pals downstate from Indiana.
Didn't
Yeah.
mess around at Rutgers either, which is normally not an easy place to win. Maybe a different story this year, but uh, there they are at the top of the standings. And another team up there, Joby, uh,
They keep doing
the
it.
Huskers.
They keep winning. And
Yeah.
I can't believe it, but I think I'm starting to believe in them.
yeah,
Kevin
like
Miles has this team rolling.
well, and here's the thing is
Mayor
what
Hoiberg.
we talked about a few weeks ago. I mean, being North Dakota, it's wonderful. Nah, it's winning at Illinois. That should tell you all you need to know about this team. They're legit. They're a tournament team. Right now, they are in everybody's. If you go to Bracket Matrix, they're in everybody's protected seed line. 3 or 4. Hey, if they come back down to earth a little bit, true, they won't be in the protected seed line much longer. But the fact of the matter is, until that happens, you've got to respect what they've done this year. Their resume is sterling uh, as it is. And what's great about what they've done is, unless they go, I remember, God, was it last year, 2 years ago, where we're starting to get on a Nebraska bandwagon. They lost like 7 straight. Unless they do something like that, so I'll give myself a caveat. We're looking at a tournament team that's going to be wearing white. Period.
Oh, I think go back to their profile, Chad. One of the things there is a lot of excitement around this team. Granted, Nebraska's all of their sports, baseball, softball, everything is well supported, but
Volleyball.
yeah, there is a lot of like people are really getting behind this team. They have this Michigan State game at home the day after New Year's. I don't know if the students will be there or not, but it's going to be this electric, sold out, jam-packed atmosphere. And if they can pick up that one, you're starting to look at their next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They might be undefeated going into that game against Michigan.
Buckeyes are going to be tricky, though. I mean, that can be tricky.
Buckeyes are gonna be, yeah. Let's talk a few other teams though here. Titel, UCLA. Uh, how about them? They did something that you very much enjoyed this past week, beating Arizona State.
I always enjoy that, Chad. The biggest problem for Coach Mick Cronin has been neutral site games, which is weird. He's 8-0 at home. He won his only true road game at Washington earlier this month, but he lost to Arizona in Inglewood, Cal in San Francisco, and Gonzaga in Seattle. He's got a home cupcake Tuesday, and then they get 10 days off before a tough road trip to Iowa and Wisconsin. And the key has been three-point shooting. 40% behind the arc is top 15 in the nation. I was expecting big things from transfer Donovan Dent. He returned to his home state after leading the Mountain West with 20 points a game for New Mexico last year. He's still a great point guard. Assists per game and steals per game are both career highs, but frankly, his three-point shooting has fallen off a cliff. He was almost 41% behind the arc last year. This year, just 2 of 17. I would say he can't even throw it in the ocean, but to be fair, Pauley Pavilion is almost 6 miles from the Pacific Ocean, and some of the roads to get there are uphill.
Jeez.
Oh my God.
Love the metaphor.
Wow.
Somebody who Stalika. How about their crosstown rivals there? How about this USC team who just finished an undefeated non-conference season and has some decent little wins on that profile?
Yeah, they
Won't be an easy
finished.
game for Michigan.
I was gonna say they finished the non-conference with wins against their old conference of champion rival Washington State and also UC San Antonio. The loss against Washington is really the only strike that the Trojans are going to have right now. But when you look at their win at San Diego, that's something that even UC San Diego wasn't even able to manage. That we'll get to under the radar on Wednesday.
I'll tell you that win over Seton Hall and Maui is starting to look real good now too.
Yeah.
That whole tournament in Maui is starting to look a bit better for USC because even though Arizona State's starting to slide down a bit, Boise State is also starting to rise up a bit.
Hmm. Absolutely, and uh, I guess the only other is it worth Griggs here a few seconds on this Illinois team? It's a team that sit there 8-3, you almost want to overlook them, but the metrics absolutely love this team. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a
No,
protected seed according to almost every metric out there, at least the predictive metrics in the net.
Yeah, and I think I think you do have to look at them, and you look at their losses. I mean, you're talking Nebraska at home was kind of a head scratcher, but the other ones, I mean, to play Alabama close and to play Connecticut, they have the win over Texas Tech. They beat the Tennessee team that we were done praising earlier. Ohio State probably a little better than their merit profile shows, so that's a pretty good win. Yeah, I think they're good. They're blasting Mizzou tonight, and the predictive metrics, I think by the end, their profile will be closer to where the rest of those predictive metrics are.
I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, this team could be towing that protected seed line.
Yeah, I think so too.
I agree.
Uh, I guess why don't we jump into the upcoming schedule here? Those were at least the notable games from this week. Coming up this week again, tough to find a good game interesting
McNeese,
one here with
interesting. I
A
don't know how
very good
people
McNeese
beat
team
it.
going to Michigan, but I don't think it's going to go very well for them at the
I
end of the
remember a
day.
couple of years ago, McNeese won,
Mhm.
They did.
Mhm. I think your team's a little better this year, Mike, just a little.
and it's not Juwan Howard this time.
Kent State is a decent little team. They're out of the MAC too. They're going to Purdue, but they're going to Purdue.
Yes.
Uh, why don't we jump over to how about the ACC? Joby, I think I got to start with you. This being your team's
Mhm.
conference, and
We
your
start with just Notre Dame and blowing the conference's net brains out, or hey.
hey, give Notre Dame a break. They decide to opt out of their game against Purdue Fort Wayne, just like they opt out of their bowl games. So hey,
Oh,
uh,
oh,
I have no say. But the Irish were, and let's start there. The Irish were actually approaching the bubble. I mean, they
they
really
were.
were. If you look at the, they had put together a decent little resume out of conference, and this just completely derails all the good work that they have done, up to this point. And yeah, it's nothing. Nobody expected anything about out of them, but now we really are in a disappointment land. And these are the type of losses that you don't really see a rest of because Dayton's a decent team. I'm not, and Florida State's not. This is the sort of game that we saw out of the ACC repeatedly last year. We haven't seen the whole lot of that this year. We've seen it out of Pitt. We've seen it, Boston College has done their usual I can't win in the city of Boston against, under the radar teams thing. And but besides that, the conference as a whole, there's almost all blue here. And the red, most of the red, Tennessee, Texas Tech, these are Vanderbilt, these are like really good teams to lose to. So it's almost a story the opposite of I'm picking on Notre Dame because they're last year they would have been, oh, that's just what's happened to the conference. This year they're the exception. So that will help the conference generally as we go forward with Stanford's win that I know someone else will probably grab on this week, which was very important for
Yeah.
look at the JNG is the best example of it. Look how many teams that are on the bubble, that 48 down. Look how many teams that are legitimately in contention for a tournament bid this year. I mean,
Joby,
that's
that is a great point because I think this conference is full of teams that are outperforming their preseason expectations, but they haven't gotten the wins that have gotten them into the spotlight yet to where the media notices. But Stanford, that was a big win against Colorado, and Stanford's having a great year. They're 10-2 with and while they haven't played a gauntlet, it hasn't been all home by games either. SMU, a good record. Virginia Tech, your favorite team, a good record. Not much was expected out
Cal.
of them.
Cal has really stepped it up. Has really
California,
stepped it up.
yeah. And these are Cal has the big win over UCLA. If you look at any of those teams, they'll have some. They're not. They don't have the big wins that have gotten the attention of the voters or the media, but they have enough decent wins to where this league is better than what pretty much anyone in the media realizes. I
And
think.
NC State, I mean, it's not like Ole Miss is something to write home about, but preseason, Ole Miss was a projected close to at least bubble
Yeah,
team,
and
looking in.
NC State
And NC
clever.
State, hey, they really needed that win against Kansas, let's be honest, to really propel them forward. But everybody had NC State on the top half of the field preseason. I think they might still be that good. And
Yeah,
so it'll be very interesting as they go forward bringing the conference up. Clemson bringing the conference up. I think Clemson's better than what their 40th ranking is. And so it'll be this is just going to be a very fun conference to look at with a lot of bids at stake. Some of these teams are going to fall off the radar. Some are going to move up and shockingly approach protected seed status. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Okay,
I agree.
let's hit a couple of these other games that took place. First of all, Titel, North Carolina found a way to beat Ohio State, which they really needed to do. You can't afford that loss if you want to stay right up there in the top of the teams of the nation.
Sure. They squeaked into the tournament last March as the 68th team out of 68, but Coach Hubert Davis is now 11-1, 1 point win over Ohio State and Atlanta thanks to 7-foot Arizona transfer Henry Vasar with the game-winning dunk in the final seconds. But the bigger story was the return of Seth Trimble. He had 17 points in his first game since breaking his left forearm in early November. And the Tar Heels are destroying ECU tonight as we speak. They'll host Florida State, which you could also argue is a cupcake, in their conference opener on December 30th. The key's been interior defense, 41% field goal shooting allowed from 2 point range, number 2 in the nation. It's a direct result of bringing in 3 transfers, 6'11" or taller, including Vesar. Their average height is the tallest in the nation. Projected lottery pick Caleb Wilson, only 6'10", still not a great 3 point shooter. He's shooting under 30% from behind the arc, but frankly, who cares? Because he's leading the team with 20 points a game, and he's leading the conference with 11 rebounds a game.
Averaging a double-double. The great season so far by Wilson. Stalika, I know we didn't discuss him in the Big 12. I know you want to talk about the Clemson-Cincinnati game. Let's hit a little bit about this Clemson team here and what they did this past week, which actually picked up 2 nice wins over Cincinnati and South Carolina.
Well, we'll go ahead and start with the Cincinnati game because when I saw the score in the first half, I thought, "Oh wait, Clemson had a bowl game against UC in football, but they jumped out to a 30-5 lead in the first 13 minutes of this game. Yet, in typical Clemson fashion, they nearly Clemsoned it away. UC had a chance to potentially tie the game at the end, but Clemson ended up surviving in what was a game played at, well, de facto home game in Greenville." And then you couple that with South Carolina. Clemson does escape with a pair of wins this week.
Yeah, so you got Clemson up there. You got Mike. We've got some other teams here that we really weren't expecting much out of with solid numbers like Miami and Virginia Tech and obviously Cal and Stanford that we mentioned earlier as well.
Yeah, a lot of unexpected success by these teams, but you got to remember last year the ACC, other than Duke, was kind of down. So I think this is really good for the conference. Will this success be sustained? We'll see. But happy for teams like Cal and Virginia Tech and Miami. Because expectations were modest coming into the season. So.
Yeah, and see, there's the rest of the games that even happened up through tonight. Boston College did find a way to win a home bye game, although Fairleigh
Oh,
Dickinson gave 'em a heck of a game tonight too.
they
Even.
they should have lost that one. They really should have. They were awful.
Big upcoming schedule. If you want to say you spent a week watching every single ACC game that was played, you have a shot this week. You only have to watch 4 games the next 7 days, and
Why
none
you
of
would
them
watch
are
any of
worth.
those is beyond me.
Fullerton at SMU,
Northridge, Stanford. Yeah, okay.
Lemoyne at BC definitely could be a good game, close game.
I'm for Lemoyne.
Uh, well, let's turn over to the one bid leagues now and start with the Big East. Oh,
Oh, brother. The Johnnies. Oh, my goodness.
Griggs, let's start right there with the Johnnies. The loss to Kentucky, and I get it. The metrics still kind of like this team, but I don't know that I've seen a team that looks like a tournament team when I've watched them on the court yet this year.
Well, that's not a tournament profile. The
No.
win against Baylor is decent, and nothing else on there is even remotely good. Ole Miss may have seemed big at the time. It has turned out to just be kind of a snoozer. Quinnipiac, we really like them to win the Metro Atlantic. And if St. John's played in the Metro Atlantic, we'd like them to win it as well. They just haven't looked that good. And the thing about the loss to Kentucky is you just can't underestimate how disappointing Kentucky's been. We already talked about the SEC. We didn't really bring up Kentucky because there's nothing to bring up. I know that this is sort of bizarre to say. That was just a damaging loss, even though it was Kentucky. And St. John's, you kind of expect them to kick it into gear as conference play gets going, but you look how this is a small margin for error. And if they post if they end up going 14-6, 13-7, which in most years that's great, I don't think that's good enough this year.
Yeah, because you look and there aren't the metrics in this conference.
Right.
You lose to at Georgetown, you're in deep trouble now, which
Yeah.
you wouldn't have said maybe a month ago, but now it looks awful.
One team, and part of it, the disappointment of teams like Marquette and Titel Creighton, who has been so beat up all season, sitting here with, a garbage profile Titel.
Yes, but Coach McDermott has won an NCAA tournament game in each of the past 5 years, and they had a brutal non-conference schedule losing to Gonzaga and Baylor and Iowa State and Nebraska and K-State. But it seems to have prepared his team for conference play as they beat Xavier and Marquette by a combined 62 points, destroyed Utah Tech earlier tonight, host Butler next week to finish off 2025. If you enjoy quick games, then the Blue Jays just might be the team for you. The average NCAA game features about 40 or so free throw attempts. An average Creighton game features fewer than 30 because they defend without fouling and they shoot without getting fouled. Incredible scoring balance with 10 different guys averaging 6 to 12 points a game this year. Sadly, one of them who will not be scoring a single point the rest of the year, Jackson McAndrew, who made 2 threes in each of their first 3 games last month, out for the year with a foot injury.
I know they've been beat up, and like Titel, I do think that they're starting to get better. But my God, that loss to K-State has me holding my nose. Oh God.
Yeah, and being a home loss too,
Yeah.
and again, there's not the chance is you may not have the chances in conference unless you go to UConn and win to move your resume needle back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they have no tier one wins at
yeah,
all.
Mike, how about the one team that I hate to say it, but I'm starting to believe in the Hall. I really am. After they
I am
went to
too.
Providence and won
Yeah.
this week.
I mean, Kansas State's not great, but to win there at their place, that's not easy to win at the Octagon. They have a good win against North Carolina State. Um, only one loss so far, and then with the Big East being kind of
They,
down, why not Seton Hall?
and they were right in that SC game. I mean, they had a chance to win that game. They arguably should have won that game. I'm with you. I think not only are they the big surprise in the conference, Chad, I think they're one of the biggest surprises in the nation. Another team that's playing well and predictive metrics don't like them quite as much. But what does Joby have? Yeah, he's got Butler right on that 11-12 bubble line.
Yep.
Um,
That's where they
and
deserve
they
to
get
be.
there. Have they done it? It's not
They
going to be
beat Virginia on
easy.
a neutral court, which is actually a
And at least they've done something, which
Yeah.
is more than you can say for any other Big East team sans Connecticut.
Yeah, here's a note. Beating Marquette this season is now a quad four win. Quad four. This was a team we went into the season thinking it was an NCAA tournament team.
Yes,
Man, if Matt was here, what would he have to say?
he'd agree.
Let's do a quick update of the scoreboard here on the screen too. Creighton did finish off Utah Tech, but Salika, your Musketeers also not looking like much this season, but they might still finish in the top half of the conference.
I think this may have been an instance of Xavier catching Creighton at the wrong time because when you look at the Creighton profile, there were some pretty odd similarities to St. John's where they had like a strong schedule. They couldn't win any of their tier ones, but my goodness, that first game was where you had your pants pulled down, then you get slapped bare ass by Greg McDermott's crew. But the way
Well,
they
then they
reacted,
bounced back on Saturday.
yeah, and then they made Ed Cooley lose his
Such
cool,
vivid
so to
imagery.
speak, yeah, ended up throwing a water bottle into the stands, inadvertently struck a kid and his mother, and he ends up getting suspended for tonight's game where Georgetown ended up beating Coppin State. But that was a good bounce back win for Xavier, who desperately needed it. But at the same time, that was a game where I think Georgetown went to the free throw line like 30 more times, but because they couldn't hit a free throw to save their lives, Cooley was pretty incensed at his team post game, and I think I counted a few, about 9 or 10 different BS references in his post game presser. Too
How
bad
come whenever
Titel wasn't
Chad,
there to document it.
how come whenever Chad throws water bottles at me, he gets a standing ovation?
I got to do this right now. That's obviously UConn. They took care of Butler this week. They won big. Well, actually, DePaul was in the game for about 30 minutes, but ended up pulling away late, doing what they needed to do at DePaul. Upcoming this week, well, there's 2 games. They're both tomorrow night. Villanova at Seton Hall, Harvard at St. John's. Uh, we'll see if that Seton Hall story can continue
Yeah.
tomorrow night. It's probably the best game on the college basketball schedule.
No,
It-
Nova
it-
Hall, I mean, Nova is right on the edge because of what they've done so far. They haven't gotten that win. If Nova beats Seton Hall, all of a sudden we are talking about Nova as
Yeah.
potentially
Go Nova.
inside the bubble.
Yeah, in Villanova,
they don't have the
what are
win,
their-
but they have the metrics. Right.
They have no bad loss. No bad
Yeah,
loss.
no
Michigan
bad
beat
loss.
Wyoming.
They beat Wisconsin's decent win, but Wisconsin's not in the tournament right now. But
Wisconsin.
it's an NIT win, or whatever you call it, champions, whatever.
The
Yeah, but
crown.
I mean, they
Fancy
got flattened by
crown.
Michigan, but they were right in there with BYU. I mean, they really almost won that game.
Uh, let's stick with the one bid conferences. Jump over to the Mountain West, which uh, just when
Oh,
we thought that things might be
oh,
starting to turn right for a couple of these teams, Boise State loses to Nevada this week. Colorado State gets destroyed by Utah State. Uh, why don't we start with well, why don't we start with the other team that is up there with 10 wins as Titel, the New Mexico Lobos sitting there at 10 and 2 though.
I mean, you know how I love first year coaches, Chad, but after going 30-5 last year at UCSD, almost upsetting Mike Chaw's Wolverines in the tournament, Eric Olin is picking up in New Mexico right where he left off to a 10-2 start, just a pair of losses away from home to the in-state rival New Mexico State and the undefeated Nebraska Cornhuskers. Yes, that sounds weird. There might not be a more impressive non-power conference win this season than their three-point upset at VCU a couple weeks ago. And due to their defensive philosophy, they actually allow teams to shoot more threes than twos, which is actually effective because their opponents are only shooting 30% behind the arc. Great scoring balance, five guys averaging 10 to 15 a game, including Dayton Albury. He scored under 8 points a game and less than 2 assists last year at Utah State. After making the in conference transfer to the Lobos, he's turned into one of the best point guards in the league, 13 points, 4 assists a game. He's arguably the best Dayton west of Ohio.
There we go again.
oh.
Okay. But
Titel is on a roll tonight.
I tell you, you are on a roll. But Utah State, I think, is the remaining story in this conference. And here's another team that also beat VCU, but uh, Salika, the Aggies. So that was incredibly impressive what they did to Colorado State.
Certainly impressive, and I would highly suggest they not look ahead in any of their next three games where they get basically the bottom of the Mountain West against Fresno State, San Jose State, and Air Force before they finally get tested against Boise State, Nevada, and Grand Canyon coming up to start the new year.
Yeah, and I don't know that, Mike, is there anybody else worth discussing this conference at this point? Because, after we thought Boise State was
No.
was recovering from the Hawaii Pacific debacle, but they lost bad to Nevada, bad.
Yeah, you look at the Nets and only one team is clearly in the top 50. This could be a one bid league the way things are going.
I think you're right. I was very much wanting to like Wyoming, and they gave me a reason to not
They,
like them.
they lost at home to the Lopes. Yep,
They
that was the
did,
other game
yeah.
I forgot to mention.
And
Right.
Grand Canyon, meanwhile, is playing with their food tonight.
Up,
I mean, it's like, I mean,
they're
come
up
on.
10 now. A quick update on that game. So it looks like they're probably going to find a
Yeah,
way to hold
probably going
on.
to win, but my God, disappointment around. And here's the difference. So that Nevada, from years past, and that Nevada Boise State game, as well as the Grand Canyon Wyoming game, I might add, in years past, it seemed whatever the Mountain West needed to get maximize their bids, it would happen within the conference. It was just crazy. It's like, oh my gosh, this team needs a win. They're on the bubble and they beat, Colorado State beats Utah State. Yeah,
Mhm.
didn't
Yeah.
happen.
It seemed like everything
Nevada,
worked out
Boise State
perfectly.
needs to not screw up again. Didn't happen. Wyoming, hey, they're kind of interesting. They protect their home and all that stuff. And their net, trust me, was not 73 before that Grand Canyon game. And it's like maybe Wyoming could do it. No, forget it. Yeah, yeah. It's like they're doing this is the Bizarro World Mountain West season,
Uh,
which makes me
upcoming
more sympathetic to them, to be honest.
upcoming schedule, nothing. It's not there. The next 7 days will be not, the Mountain West will not do anything wrong at all unless UNLV loses at home to La Sierra. Um, West
Is,
Coast
is,
Conference.
is that like based out of the Bellagio or what?
I have no idea. Here's what might be a multi. That probably is a multi-bid league here with the
Oh
West
yeah.
Coast with the Zags and the Gales. But even then,
Yeah.
uh, we had a couple slip-ups in this conference recently too. But I don't know where do we want to start here?
Well, Oh, okay. You know how I was you praising Santa Clara for most of the year? Can we go back and delete that?
Let's start right there. Santa Clara had
Oh
been
my
having a pretty
God.
good season. They went and they played, and our friend Rocco Miller was on the call for both games there, and they played in Santa Cruz. They went and they took care of North Texas. It was close, but they won the game.
Good
Loyola
game.
Chicago, who had been awful, probably the worst team in the A10, they lose that game on Saturday. I mean that's almost Hawaii Pacific bad in terms of losses.
Yeah, and you want to talk about just a firework exploding in your face. I mean, that is just going to torpedo their resume. It wasn't that good to begin with, but it was good enough to where landing inside the bubble was certainly within their reach, and they had looked good enough to be able to do it. But my God, it's just like it's just one of those. How? Why? Loyola Chicago, while an A10 team, that's the equivalent of a home by loss to a team that to a mid-level Horizon League team or worse.
Uh, Maybe the team, Joby, worth mentioning now is Seattle. I mean, they're probably
Hey,
Yeah,
still
we
off
got
the
to talk
Bubble
about
wins.
pace.
that.
Stanford just beat Colorado. We talked about how that's awesome. Seattle didn't lose to Stanford. They beat Stanford. And then now this week they go out and they beat Washington. In the J&G, to put that in perspective, while Seattle's not up there yet because of their strength of schedule is just awful, uh, Stanford's the first team out and Washington's the 11th team out. I mean, when we're talking teams that are legitimately saying maybe they can look to bids eventually, and Seattle has put those markers down. Now, we don't have Seattle in. We shouldn't have Seattle in. But with St. Mary's, with Gonzaga, who knows? You win a road win of those or split them for goodness sakes. All of a sudden, you do have to actually discuss them, especially with what I'm seeing. Having mentioned Washington as the 11th team out, that should tell you how bad the bubble's going to be this year. Why not? Why not if you can get some good scalps like Gonzaga?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
Seattle. I just want to jump in here real quick. Like a really weak strength of schedule. It's down in the 320s, but this is a team that hasn't been really, they've not been on the spotlight. They don't really have a brand or a history, but they are a fun team to watch. They have the most amazing in arena decoration in the world, the giant
okay, that's it.
turret.
We are moving on real quick.
But
Uh,
no, I mean, to go out there and get the win
I,
against Washington was a great moment.
I got it. I'm hitting the wrong buttons even. Tytel, you're a bracket guessing expert here. I want to pull the Zags up here. They took care of Oregon. Yes, it's only a tier three win this year, but it's normally a lot better of a win. Uh, and they finished the non-conference schedule with the one loss to Michigan. Can this team get a one seed if they cruise through this conference?
Certainly, and I want to point out a couple things. First, if you look at the blue column with the net and the WAB, I believe last year they were an 8 seed, even though they had an 8 net because their WAB was so bad, frankly. This year it's 6, so I like their chances of being a
Mhm.
top 2 seed, as does the J&G, as you see. The other thing that is amazing is when's the last time you saw a one-loss team with the only loss by 40? Like unrecognizable resume. I've never seen anything like it.
Mike is celebrating again. Upcoming schedule real quick in the West Coast Conference. Not much here, although we do start some conference play coming up on Sunday with Gonzaga at Pepperdine, St. Mary's at Loyola Marymount, San Fran at Seattle. And the game tonight, which is
Yeah.
tipping off in a few minutes now, is a real interesting one, Northern Iowa at St. Mary's.
That is a real interesting one.
Uh, Over in another one bid league here, the A10. Uh, and maybe the story here again, Tytel, let me stick with you. St. Louis, just when y- they go ahead and they find a way to get a couple wins here. And are they the story in this league?
Yes.
Arguably GMU right there with them, but yes, I think they're worth discussing. Coach Josh Schertz won 19 games in his debut with the Billikens last year. He looks like a lock to improve on that this year. 11-1, home cupcake next Sunday against Principia. Go Panthers. So they should be
Oh,
12-1 when hosting St.
338.
Joe's
Yuck.
in their conference opener on New Year's Eve. Couple keys here. Scoring, 93 points a game is number 10 in the nation. And rebounding, 44 rebounds a game is number 7 in the nation. and defense, 37% field goal shooting allowed. It's number 7 in the nation. They do everything great and great scoring balance. 7 different guys averaging 9 to 13 points a game, including the one you probably know, big man Robbie Avila. His shooting percentages are all up this year, even though he's playing just 25 minutes a game this year. He was 34 minutes a game last year. Hard to pick the best nickname for the 6'10 goggle wearing center. Your top 3 candidates right now: Kareem Abdul Jabbar, Larry Nerd, and Steph Blurry.
What was the first one
I
you
quit.
said?
I quit. I'm
John,
done.
what was the first one
Titel
you
is
said?
just bringing his
I'm
A
doing
game
the water bottle
tonight.
at Titel also.
His video isn't
John, what
working,
was the
but
first one
my
you said?
goodness.
It was off of Kareem.
Kareem Abdul Jabbar.
Oh,
Kareem.
Kareem. Okay, got it.
Kareem. Oh, you know, I Joby, when you look at Nets, when you look at J&G ratings, they say maybe we look at Mason, maybe we look at VCU, or do we just take a one bid?
The
We just take one
problem is
bid.
Mason's J&G would actually be higher if they weren't just being brutalized for being a bubblicious team with a 340 strength of schedule. Well, I mean, St. Louis is well inside the bubble, I would argue right now.
I
Thus,
think
their
they are.
strength of schedules at 339 is not as devastating to them. But when your only game that is worth a darn you lost to a Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech's a good team this year, as we discussed. But you need some wins, man, and they're not going to get in the A10. I mean, unless they beat St. Louis, and in that case, they only play St. Louis once. They got to win that game at home. We're
It's
supposed
a
to
home
wait until
game.
March.
Uh,
No,
but
Go back to
Mason's
the
going to be out of this because they're going to pick up some losses here and there. They'll lose like a Dayton game or a VCU game or something like that to what are reasonable teams. And yeah, Mason needed to schedule better. I mean, seriously, I mean, I just think Mason's not the anathema to teams to schedule with. They should have gone out of their way to try to get like some sort of game against somebody. I mean,
yeah.
it's just that Virginia Tech's it. I mean, I'm sorry, there are other teams.
okay, yeah. I think we've hit enough on the A10 for the night, though.
Yeah, but look at the overall, look at the strength of schedules, and that is disappointing for a league that really isn't bad. There's good teams in this league. It's just to demonstrate that you're a good team, you have to play and beat good teams, and they're
Yeah.
sort of forgetting that
Yeah,
part.
really quick, the only team that did was VCU. The problem is they couldn't win any of those non-conference
Right,
games.
yeah.
They
They
couldn't
gave
find a way to win
themselves a
any of
chance.
them.
But they gave them, if Mason has that same schedule and beats Utah State, for instance, all of a sudden we legitimately are talking about Mason. But we're
Yeah.
not because they didn't.
Upcoming games here, just a small handful. The John Titel Special Pennant George Mason, and then Principia, Cleary, Arcadia.
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers again. Uh, American Conference. Mike, any thoughts on the American? Again, a one bid league.
Mm, a lot of triple digits I see.
This is,
Okay, serious question for Titel.
You pull up
What is
Tulsa's profile, please?
yeah, let's pull it
Yeah,
up here.
like what is Tulsa's margin for error? Because I think they are good enough to be
Ooh.
inside the bubble, but how many can they lose? Because there's going to be some tough games here.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
right now 12-1 is solid, obviously. J&G
They only
says
lost by
here-
1 point at Kansas State. Only 1 point away from an undefeated season.
Yeah.
True, which is why if they go like 30-2 with another 1 point loss, then I think they're great. But we both know that's probably not going to happen. The thing is, Memphis is like falling back to earth, so I would not be scared of them. You see their net 120. When's the last time Memphis was this bad?
I'll make an argument here, though, Titel. They are bad. They have a lot of losses, but if they were in all these games. They took Vanderbilt to overtime. They were in the Purdue game. This is probably the most dangerous 4-7 team in the nation right now, by far.
But Chad, remind me, what about good? What is that theory about?
They're not going to the tournament. They don't belong anywhere near the tournament. I'm not making that argument. What
Sure.
I'm saying is that I think when we come American Conference tournament time, for example, this could be a bid steal team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, if Tulsa's inside the bubble at that point,
Yes.
it's not a bid steal if no one's within the at-large field. And there is a very big risk if Tulsa doesn't do what Tytel says. If they collect like 4 or 5 losses in conference,
They're done.
they're
Yeah,
probably done. And
I
so,
agree. I think Tulsa is good. I think, and by good, I mean, I think they're around 40-ish, top 40-ish level team in the nation. But they're even with the bloated record, it's hard to go to North Texas. It's hard to go to Tulane. It's sometimes hard to go to UAB, depending. Wichita State, the Roundhouse, South Florida. These are teams that are nowhere near the bubble. They need binoculars to see it, but it's still hard to go to those places and win. And are they good enough to do it across the board? They're going to lose 2 or 3 games.
And we haven't even touched on Friday night's game where they needed a desperation three at the buzzer just to win at Western Kentucky. If they
Yeah.
lose that game, their net is probably south of 60, and
Oh,
we are relegating
right.
the
And they
American to
didn't blow
under
out
the
Denver
radar.
either,
yeah,
John. They
that was
also
a
beat
great
Denver by
game.
5.
That
Now,
was a
Denver,
great road win. Western Kentucky, that might be their only home loss of the year. And what a beautifully executed play to win the game on.
All right. Real quick, upcoming games for this week, next 7 days. There's the UCF Florida Atlantic game we mentioned. Georgia College, not Georgia, Georgia College at South Florida Monday night.
world's smallest cocktail party right there.
We're going to final thoughts. Titel, I'm gonna start with you because you need the screen share.
I don't think I can top Joby's. That was fantastic. So I'm going to talk about Penn Rutgers. I've waited most of my life for my Quakers to face Chad Scarlet's Knights, and I mean that literally. Our two schools played each other 23 times in the past, Penn holding the 19-4 advantage, by the way, but had not scored off since December of 75, when I was exactly 1 year and change old. Rutgers beat Penn 95-80 in a neutral site game at the Garden of all places. They finally took the floor last Saturday in Jersey Chad's Arena, and despite Penn star Ethan Roberts missing the game, we were up 8 points early in the second half. We were up 2 points in the final second, and then Tariq Francis ruined my weekend by making a game-winning three with zero point 0.6 seconds left in the 70-69 win by the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So for the first and hopefully last time ever, are you rah rah? Are you rah rah?
There we go. Yes, Scarlet Knights win a game, and we're not going to get very many of those this season. You'll get your Penn Quakers will win more games the rest of the year than my Scarlet Knights will. Title,
Wow.
so I'll give you that much. Let's go ahead and pull this down here. Run through the rest of you here. Let's Salika, let me go to you next.
I think we're looking at a couple different teams like Boise State and Nebraska, where they seem to have a rather dubious history when it comes to the NCAA tournament. Boise State's still a long shot at this point to make the field, but if they were to get in, this is a team that is 0-10 all time in the NCAA basketball tournament. Then you look at a team like Nebraska. This is a team that's had as high as a number 3 seed if you go back to the 1991 NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, they did not. The tournament committee did not do them any favors that year because the 14 seed they drew was a Xavier team that had been to the Sweet 16 the year before, and they ended up upsetting what was then the Big 8 champion Nebraska Cornhuskers this year. And this is a team probably poised to break what is currently an 0-8 record in the NCAA tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Never won a game there, and we'll see what happens. But Joby.
Yeah, I mentioned it in passing, but I'm going to really focus a little more on my comment of, wow, the bubble's going to be awful this year. Like, I mean, I didn't think the bubble was necessarily that bad last year. This year, the quality is going to be down. The best way to say is go back, listen to what we've talked about in this podcast. Go, well, is Oklahoma State or UCF for real? They might fall back. Well, they're in the field right now. And then I mentioned, well, the ACC has all these teams in the 40s. Some will move up, some will move down. We will see some move down. If those Oklahoma State's, UCF's, Miami's, it's Cal's, if they fall back, who replaces them? Let me tell you who replaces them. New Mexico? Really? Indiana? Really?
I hope not.
Boise State? We just mentioned John just said Boise State's a long shot. Kansas State, who we've trashed all, inadvertently all day with, oh, well, I don't know. Mike mentioned they had a 1 point loss. These are not great teams that would be coming in. That's why, it's going to be, and John mentioned this in the text, off camera, is like, oh my gosh, they're thinking about expanding this darn thing. How in the world, when you're when you're looking to draw Indiana and Kansas State and Boise State and TCU and Arizona State into the field, because that's what we're talking about. That's the type of team we're talking about. Um, ah, yeah, I don't look forward to that.
Joby, it's kind of what I was almost joking about as we went through the show tonight, but after the ACC, SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12, there may only be one or two at-large bids the rest of the
Right.
nation.
Yeah,
And I think
well,
one of them's
two
coming
of them are
from
in
the
the
West Coast.
WCC.
One,
Two in the
one from the one
WCC.
from the West Coast Conference, one at-large bid from the West Coast Conference, and I'm not 100% sure the Big East is a multi-bid league this year. That's how
Right.
bad it is.
And you can rag on. I think Utah State's in the field. They are right now. But if let's say Utah State drops and fumbles in the Mountain West this year, uh, I don't see an at-large team unless New Mexico, as Titel pointed
Right.
out, jumps out and is that team to do it. I don't see it.
Right.
So
You're talking, yeah, but short of bid, and even then, but you need a bid thief to get two
you
Mountain
need a
West
bid
teams.
thief, but you might not need a bid thief and I think Utah State's going to solidly be in the field and
Hmm.
get it worthy if a San Diego State, for instance, wins the conference tournament.
Right.
But if not, woo, yeah, I don't. It's one bid for them.
And all the pound conferences will love it, though. That's what they
Yeah,
want. Uh,
because then all of a sudden
mm,
Indiana gets in.
Mike.
To bring up on the lack of a bubble, I can't help but think that, because of NIL and because of the transfer portal that, it's like the rich get richer and you don't see all these, programs in the middle tier. You don't hear about them as much. So it's kind of unfortunate, but that's, college basketball is a business and it's gonna favor the bigger schools. So.
It is. Greg, do you want to finish off the show?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm just really going to miss this year. I've talked about this before, is the absence of the Diamond Head Classic. It was just this revered event. And if you looked around the nation on the day of the semifinals and on December 24th and the finals on December 25th, there was this holiday feel around it. I mean, it really was because
No, I can't. I can't. Oh, that's it. We're ending this show before it gets any worse. It's been a bad one. I do want to thank everybody for joining us. We will be back next Monday. We're going to do a Hoops HD report, probably be a shorter show, as you saw all the great games we got coming up this week, or maybe we'll hit some special topics then. But on behalf of Joby Fortson, Mike Cha, David Griggs, John Salika, John Titel, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again real soon.